Good morning, Buffalo. You're listening to the Buffalo U Up podcast. My name is Brian Dudeman, and right now I'd like to introduce my co-host, the very lovely Ari Nicole.
Oh, hi, dude man. You up?
You know what? I am getting there. How about you? Are you alive? Are you awake? Are you up?
I think so. I think so.
All right, now we're going to go ahead and introduce ourselves. My name is Brian Dudeman, and my co-host is...
Ari Nicole, as always.
And our guest for this episode of the Buffalo U Up podcast is none other than...
Now? Am I? Oh, sorry. I didn't realize I was the guest today. Yes, hi, I'm Paul McGinnis, and I'm the guest.
Paul, what are your titles? What are your hats? What do you do in the Buffalo film community?
Actor, writer, producer, generally groovy guy.
I concur. I would also like to add that Paul McGinnis is one of my absolute favorite people to ever collaborate with.
Aw, man, Tara, I love you, dude.
All right, now we're going to jump into everybody's favorite segment of the podcast. That's right. We're going to jump right into fan mail. So the way that fan mail works is you guys, the audience, will send in your questions to our Instagram or our Facebook at the Buffalo U Up Podcast. We will ask those questions right here on this podcast, and the guest of the week will answer. So without further ado, Ari, Nicole, will you please do the honors and ask Paul the first question?
The first question I have here is from Alyssa via Facebook. Your recent performance in Slashers is highly anticipated. Who was your favorite person to work with? It could be cast or crew.
Oh, okay. We don't have the last name. Okay. Because one of my co-stars was another Alyssa who I believe is on Facebook. So I'm wondering if, and I don't make me choose because it was so much wonderfulness, but I will say Alyssa and Sarah Jean and I made a quite awesome trio together. And that was the first time I've really worked that in depth with Alyssa. We worked together on Little Green People. But I did find that she had quite the skill at improvising, and I'm someone who likes to goof around when I can, and off screen and on screen. And whenever I would throw a joke out, just being myself, she would meet me, and I would like, oh, okay, you've come to play. All right. Sarah Jean's used to my antics, so she just kind of plays herself, and she lets me do my stuff. But Alyssa did actually add to it. She yes and very, very well. So it was quite a pleasure working with those two. Of course, Eugene. I've known Eugene for a while, so it was an honor getting to work alongside him as well. And of course, we had Chad Ridgely from out of town. Got to improv with him. I got to work with Shanda, who I work with on a little show called Captain Isotope. Always love working with her. She has she brings a lot of game to the table. So, and I'm sure I'm missing people.
No, I don't really like that question. Ooh, here's a good one. Ben, 30, Jamestown. He says that he has been a filmmaker for about 5 years now. And he's got friends, his peers, who are in the film world. And they always say that his stuff's great, the best that they've ever seen. But he's not sure. How does he know if his stuff's actually good? Or if his friends are just blowing smoke up his ass? Is there a way that you can tell?
That's a very, very good question. I don't know his friends, so I don't know if they are just blowing smoke. You never want to talk bad about your friends, but at the same time, I think constructive criticism is a good thing as well to help you learn, to help you grow. None of us are perfect. I think we can all improve. I was given a lot of tough love when I first got into the filmmaking, especially the writing aspect, from one Mr. Gregory Lamberson, and he continues to give that tough love to this day, which you got to respect. You know where you stand with him. But it was through his, hey, this is what wasn't good about what you did, that I got to improve, that I got to learn. So, I mean, look for your critics. Look for the people who don't love your stuff and hear what they have to say. Sometimes you can learn just as much from them. My general advice is just make stuff and show it. Not just your friends, show it to other people. And I think the right people will say, well, here's what I like, here's what I didn't. I work with a couple guys up in Springville, who, Golden and Mike, the September brothers, who I think are two up-and-comers, and their skill level's getting better. I'm trying to hopefully guide them in the right direction as well, or at least point them to the people who can guide them in the right direction. I'm not always the expert at stuff, but I'm always like, whenever Golden asks me stuff, I always like, talk to this guy. He can tell you how to do that. That's my go-to question whenever Golden's like, hey, what about this? Talk to this person. So, get out there, spread your wings, network, and look for the critics, because even if they're being mean, sometimes you can get something out of that.
Tell us more about your work with the September Brothers. I personally am an honorary September sister. It's my birthday being in September as well. So I would love to hear more about what you've got going.
I love those guys. I got to meet them a couple years before COVID, and I've been watching them grow and get better. And they're just two guys who want to make fun films, and they've got so much heart, so much energy, and so many great ideas. I really want them to succeed. They both have a distinct style to each of them. Both Mike and Golden have very distinct styles to them, and when combined, it's something awesome. I wrote a commercial for a fundraiser for their next upcoming project, which I'll drop now. You'll hear me talk a lot about. Dingus Day is my next writing project, is something I'm working on right now. And we did a fundraiser for it, so I wrote this commercial, and I got to write what I felt was distinctly their voices, because I know them so well. And I basically wanted to say that, okay, I want you to play Mike, and I want you to play Golden, and just be those people. And somebody even said, like, oh, you wrote such good parts for Mike. I'm like, no, I didn't. I just wrote Michael. Just let Michael be Michael. He's awesome. And then same thing with Golden. Just let those two guys be themselves, and you'll see some magic. So, like I said, they've got so much energy, and I'm hoping for the best for both of them. I love working with them. I keep joking that they need to make it Febtember Brothers so I can get in on that too. So, but for now, I'm the September Brothers with the February cousin. I'll take that one.
All right, here's a good one. This one comes from Cameron. She's 19. She writes to us from Fredonia. And she says, so something that she thinks about a lot is subtext. She wants to know, does subtext still count? Is it still valid, even if it isn't the author's intent?
Ooh, that is a good question. Because sometimes people get stuff out of things and like, oh, this is what you meant. And I think interpretation, that's the great thing about art in general, that if you pull meaning out of it and you hold on to that meaning, hold on to that meaning. There's no reason it can't mean that to you. There was a band that used to, back in the 90s, called McCarthyism. It was a local band. And I listened to their newest album one night after I lost someone very close to me, and the song was called Rainmaker. And since then, that song has always meant about the loss I had and the healing power of the tears. I don't think that's what they meant at all. And someday I was curious, like, I wonder what the original intent of that song was. But to me, whenever I'm feeling sad and I'm missing that person, I like to keep this song Rainmaker in my head, and that's what it means to me. So I think that's okay. I think you can look at things and go, oh, all right. Sometimes I like it because I like to add a few levels to even the goofy stuff that I do. And I remember we were playing Killer Rack at Fredonia, and the one girl had asked about, the fact that you killed cat colors, and she said, I love that you killed cat colors. I'm like, well, yeah, that's the whole only reason I wrote those characters, and sadly I made them too likable because like cat colors shouldn't be that likable, but cat colors has always been like, I don't get it, I don't understand it, I don't. I remember being in New York and I was on a work thing and guy just shouting at every woman that walked by, and I always thought, well, what's your end game, dude? Is she supposed to cling onto the hood? I don't understand. You're harassing, you're scaring. It doesn't make sense to me. So, I like to think that there is a strong message behind Killer Rock. If you don't get it, I'm fine with it. If you get something that I didn't intend, I'd be like, oh, that's a good one, sure. Anything else that I do, same deal. If I ever get my big serious one I want done, there's going to be some levels there. And I'm also going to be very shortly, hopefully, I wrote my first serious shorts that I'm doing that I'm hoping people will see, oh, the title and the premise and everything about it is about one thing. If you get it, great. If you just think, well, that was a creepy movie, I'm okay with that too. So, yeah, I think, whatever it reflects upon you. I mean, that might just be you finding your own brilliance. So, absolutely, run with the subtext.
This is via Instagram. The only one for you. Who is your local celebrity crush?
My goodness, that's going to get me in trouble. Who is my local celebrity crush? Local? I have a bunch, actually. I crush easy. I openly admit it. There's so much awesome. There's so much beauty in Buffalo. There really is. And I don't hide my crushes very well. I think they know it. I don't know. I'm going to kind of keep... I don't think I'm going to make it that public, though. Just because it's just... I think crushes are okay. I think it's also... I'm also okay when the crushes aren't reciprocated, too. So, I don't want to ruin any friendships. But there is a lot of beauty. There's a lot of awesome. There's more than a few that I've always been... Well, that would... I don't like to mix my personal life into the film community because it's such a big part of what I do and my joy. And I have found in the past that adding romance to when the romance goes bad, then it taints everything. So I do my darndest, but there's a couple that I was like, yeah, I would, given the opportunity, definitely would.
All right, so this is my last question here. This is my last card. This one comes in from Brittany, 25 Amherst. And she says that she's been going to Buffalo Dreams for about 2 years now. And something that she fears is that whenever she introduces herself, she's always afraid that she's going to scare somebody off with her, like, eagerness. So something that she constantly, like, is insecure about, something that she always thinks about, is if she ever introduces herself and she's overhyped, overexcited, does she come off as genuine or inauthentic? And is it okay to sometimes fangirl over someone even if you're meeting them for the first time? That was a good question, Brittany. Thank you.
That's a great question. I'm yapping because that's what I do. I'm the same way. I get very excited. I love, especially out of town filmmakers, and I don't hide my joy of things. We just had. Were you at Buffalo Dreams when they played the Once and Future Smash?
Yes.
I love that movie so much, and I knew so many of the filmmakers. So when I avidly was jumping up and down like a puppy afterwards, I'm like, so when Sophia was there, I'm like, oh my god, this was so great, this was so good, this was so good. She had met me before, so I think she was used to it. Other times I'm never sure. I met an actress who reminded me so much of Jessica Zolak that Greg told me that, like, this is her clone, and I'm like, when I first saw it, I didn't get it, and then she did. Did you see Misunderstood Monster? So good, so amazing. And so afterwards, I'm like, hi, you look like my friend Jessica. And she was in 2 shorts, and they were both amazing for different reasons. And I was very avidly fanboying on her because how good she was. And she seemed to be reciprocating it. So yay, as far as, she didn't see my stuff, but at the same time, I don't know, because I know I get very eager. I get very puppy dog, and I'm okay with it. And what I'm trying to do more and more is not just do it for the quote unquote celebrities. I like my friends, but the talent I know, I want to fanboy on them as well. I want, I will, fanboy on a good cosplay. I have so many friends who do that, and so I'll see a good one, I'm like, oh my god, that's amazing, or just a good this, a good that, whatever. If I see my friends on a good stage production, and I have so many fingers in the different worlds that I just try to fanboy on all of them, because who doesn't like that? Who doesn't like that eagerness? And I have met some legit celebrities, and those I get so scared around. Like Debbie Rashawn knows me by name, and that scares the living heck out of me some days. Getting to do a movie with, well, my brain just went away, in Widow's Point, when I got to do a movie with... Craig Sheffer. Thank you. Wow. Why did I not remember Craig Sheffer? Who I got to meet when I was PAing on a film that he did. And getting to hang out with his daughter, who was awesome as well. And
Willow, yeah.
Yeah, Willow was so cool. She was just... But Willow would drop something occasionally. We'd be sitting there, and she'd be like, my godmother is Sharon Stone. And I'm like, I can't be in the room with you. What the holy heck? And you'll appreciate this. Her boyfriend came to set the one day, and I was wearing a Freddy Krueger t-shirt. And he's like, oh, you a horror fan? I'm like, huge horror fan. So we're geeking out together. And he asked me what my favorite is. I'm like, hey, Evil Dead. Always Evil Dead. And he's like, oh, my God, Bruce Campbell's the best. I'm like, isn't he? Like, Bruce Campbell is the best of all things. And then she goes, I don't know who Bruce Campbell is. Well, of course, he's in a show with her mom. And Gabrielle Anwar, Burn Notice, he was on a television show. And I go, yeah, he was on Burn Notice. She goes, oh, Uncle Bruce, yeah. And I was like, oh, man. But I'm still, like, I'm just as eager around. And I get nervous around everybody, going up to talk to people. But I don't know. It's just, I've realized that's who I am. And instead of feeling embarrassed about it, just be you. There were so many people who I met for the first time at this past Buffalo Dreams. Greg had me at one point just handing out mics. And the one actress I had seen in the previous year, in an amazing one she wrote. And then she did a music video. Yes! Wasn't she amazing? You know who I'm talking about.
Yes. It's actually a funny story. I reached out to her and said I loved The Last Option. What made you want to do it? Were you nervous since it was the first short film you shot? And she was like, dude, man, those are great questions. I will answer that when I'm on your podcast. But that's next week. We're here now. Sorry. Continue. As you were saying.
I think it's okay to fangirl, because I fanboy all the time. As a matter of fact, my email address is fanboy, so I've been a fanboy, and now I just lean into it. It's like, you know what? This is who I am. I think that appreciation is appreciated by others, and if they don't, well, the heck with them. Then they don't see how awesome you are.
I can relate in that is that I gush more over my friends' performances and successes than I do over, say, celebrities that I meet, because they're all just people. Right. And so I'm gonna treat them like people. But my friends, these are people that I've worked with and have been friends of mine, and so I truly am, happy of their success. So I probably gush much more over the people that I know.
Right.
And then whereas when I meet the people that I don't know, just, oh, hi, it's great to meet you. Great performance.
Yes, and I completely agree with both of you guys. I would say that the difference between meeting a celebrity versus a local talent is that with a celebrity, for instance, I'll meet bands after they perform a hell of a show and be like, hey, can you sign the set list? And then I'll be like, that was such an amazing show. I've listened to you since I was in high school. And they'll be like, oh, cool, thanks. And for me, it's a memory that I'll never forget. And for them, it was a Sunday in Buffalo, you know? But with a local talent, I think there is the opportunity to, work with them later on down the road, to later collaborate with them. So I think in that sense, yes, it's more awesome, and I get more eager meeting a local talent than I do like a celebrity, if that makes sense.
All right, this is from Brittany, 25. She's from Amherst. She says, Paul, I love you. I'm your #1 fan. Will you guys please ask my question for Paul on the podcast? I've been dying to ask him this since we met.
So I'm going to give a maybe to that. Also, the name of one of my crushes is Brittany. I doubt it's that one, though. I don't think she lives in Amherst. But you know what? No. Yes, you can ask. You can ask. Make it so. Live your dreams. Reach for the sky.
All right, well, that just about does it for this edition of Fan Mail. Guys, remember, if you want your questions asked on this podcast, reach out to us either through our Facebook or our Instagram. The guest of the week will answer. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We will be right back. You're listening to the Buffalo U Up podcast, and our guest this week is Paul McGinnis. Paul, thank you again for being our guest, man. We really do appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to join us here today.
Oh, hey, yes. Buffalo, you up? We are back, and this is the Buffalo You Up podcast, and I am Ari Nicole, my co-host over here.
Brian Dude Man, nice to meet you, Buffalo.
And now is our segment that we like to call Plug Yourself. So, Paul, let our listeners know where we can find you. Do you have videos on DVD? Do you have short films on YouTube? Do you have an Instagram? Do you have a Facebook? Do you have a really cool podcast or blog that you would like to share with us?
Where can you find me? Well, I have a bunch of films on Tubi, free on Tubi. Oh, God, I love Tubi. Killer Rack is playing on Tubi. I will always push Killer Rack because I feel that movie is, I feel it still has some legs to it, and would love to see it get the outside of Buffalo, people who don't know me, get to know.
Legs.
Yeah, a rack with legs. I was very impressed that I saw on YouTube there was a couple, and I didn't know the languages, but they were explaining the plot in other languages. One was, I believe, Japanese, and one was like an India language, which I didn't recognize because I am not cultural enough, unfortunately. I wish I was. And I'm like, oh my God, other countries are talking about me and I can't get my family to watch it. So you can see Killer Rack, Dry Bones is one I did. I don't know where Widow's Point is playing. That's another one I'm hugely proud of. We just finished filming Slasher Days. I think we still have some pickup shots to do, but when that comes out, you're going to hear me plug the heck out of that one. I think that's honestly one of my favorite films, probably, and that's not putting down anything else. I did some great films, but this one really stays in my heart as a great one. So I'll really be talking the heck out of it when it's done. Yeah, I'm excited about this one. I've got I do have an Instagram. I think it's just P McGinnis. It might be Fanboy22. I use Fanboy with a PH for a few things. I'm not on Twitter /X anymore. I got stolen by identity theft, but I didn't like that website anyway, so they can have that identity. They couldn't get to anything bad through it. I'm on Facebook. You can find some things on YouTube. I'm working on some projects coming up that I'm very excited about. As I think I previously mentioned, I have my first serious film that I wrote that I'm collaborating with Chris Cosgrave and a few. I'm not going to be in this one. I intentionally did not cast myself. And two great actresses and one great actor will be filling that entire cast. And writing for the September Brothers. I've done September Brothers stuff in the past. I will gladly do stuff with them in the future if they'll have me. And so if just follow September Brothers. wherever they happen to be. And I don't know where Kristen Skeet's shorts play, but I do want to give a shout out to Infatuation, which I am so proud of. Kristen Skeet is probably one of the smartest people in Buffalo right now, and she's a producer, director, writer. She does so much. I've seen her work with other filmmakers and bring their game up so high. And I was very honored to be cast in a short that she did called Infatuation. I've done other shorts with her, but this one I got to play a villain. And I think the best compliment I've ever gotten was a few of my horror friends coming up and telling me that I was scary. So I'm like, yay. And I'm okay not being scary. I'm okay being the goofball. But sometimes you like to know that you can, spread your wings and do other stuff. And so I'm like, am I really scary? Was it really? Okay. So that was me. Like, I don't normally take compliments very well. I normally swat them away like King Kong, just swatting at those planes. But this one I was very, very avidly like, what did you think of me? And what did you think of me? So where I don't know if and where that'll be available, but you'll definitely hear me talk about that one. Other stuff, I mean, like I said, anything that Greg Lamberson does, I tend to be a part of. So, Guns of Eden, I have a part in. Johnny Gruesome, the aforementioned Widow's Point, which I'm hugely proud of. That was an amazing movie. Guns of Eden also was an amazing action film. I wasn't big in that one. I was a background, but I was still proud to be a part of it because it was a great, great film.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Just a lot of fun. I loved your part too.
Thank you. So did awesome. I.
Yeah. I had no dialogue, and it was one of the few, but I had a great death in it, so that was cool. And that's all that's coming to my brain right now.
Can I?
You can do whatever you wish, sir.
So there are two films that I saw you in that I absolutely loved. One of them was Casting Couch Slaughter 2. Man, you had me rolling on the floor, dying in stitches, man. That was a great performance.
I got to improv that. He didn't give me any dialogue. I got to improv that entire character based on a creepy DM my friend Jessica got, where he was asking to see her feet and was asking to see her creamy white toes. And it was the creepiest thing I've ever written, and I was repulsed by it. And I was like, okay. And he wrote it in such bad English that I had to throw that accent to it. So you'll hear me say, please to be showing. I would like to please see the toes. I would like to see the toe cleavage, and just maybe pinky toe to start. It is not, it is lifestyle that I. So he just said okay, and it gave me no dialogue, just be that creepy foreign foot lover guy. So I'm proud of that one too.
And the other film that I absolutely loved you in was Veronica. That was another project that you worked on with Heather. Another villainous role. You actually had me scared in that one, which is weird because I know you in person, but watching that film, I was like, oof.
You're one of the first directors who put me in. He didn't even know me. I got to play a very angry pimp versus against Casey and Crystal, and do some very mean, nasty stuff. And I was like, oh wow, he didn't know me. He just said, I'm gonna, so I'm angrily smoking a cigarette outside. I was like, all right. If you don't know me, this isn't who I am at all. So I like playing those parts because that is so not who I am. And then Veronica, again, this abusive boyfriend that I had to do horrible things to poor Heather. And I think that might have been the first time we worked face to face, and she was also in Infatuation, which always love working with her, and always is a good. You can throw a lot of meanness at her, and she'll absorb it, and you can build off of that easily.
I was simply going to say I remember working with Amir in the past, and I as I remember him, his genre was pretty much, in that realm of dark and gory.
I mean, I don't think he does films these days. But what I've seen of his and what I've been a part of his, it's always been fun and great. And he's a very giving director and writer too. So, and he'll let you build off of stuff. So he trusted me as an my God. When you see the name Paul McGinnis, Angry Pimp should not come to mind. And he was like, "You're going to be an angry, rapey pimp." I was like, "Oh, okay, that's all right. We'll make it happen." It was fun.
That's true
And,
acting.
yeah. And Casey, I hadn't ever worked with her before, and she spit right in my eye. Well, she should have, because I deserved it. My character did deserve it. It was all in the moment. But of all the things that saliva is just the grossest thing ever.
Yeah.
And it was like I'm torturing her character, so she just reacted, patoo, right? And I was like, and my inner monologue was going, ew, 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 ew. I'm like, let me just be sadistic with this. And I recently, she was at the Slasher Bash, and I told her that. I'm like, you remember that's the first thing you did? She goes, well, it's because I trusted you. I'm like, oh, thank you. Thank you for trusting me enough to spit on me. Just on screen, please don't ever trust me that much again.
All right, well, that just about does it for this edition of Plug Yourself. Thank you for tuning in to the Buffalo You Up podcast. We will be right back with Paul McGinnis.
And we're back, Buffalo. You up? I'm Mary Nicole. We've got my co-host over here.
Hey, Brian Dudeman here. Still awake? Still up? How about you, Ari? Are you still up?
I am up. And, of course, our very important guest here.
Oh, geez. I know. I keep having to say my own name. Paul McGinnis, I am up and flying high based on the company I am among.
So now as we wrap up our podcast episode, we would like to ask our guest what your final thoughts are about being on the podcast. What did you think? What would you like to say to future guests that may be coming on the podcast in the future?
Just be yourself, have fun. You're in front of two great people, and who will let you be yourself, and as we all should in this world. I think being yourself is one of the greatest gifts that any of us can give, and unfortunately, not everyone can. So, just fly high, my friends. Fly high.
And what do you think about? Did you have fun?
I had
Were
a
we
lot of fun.
annoying?
I love the questions. Loved the I love sharing about this world. This is one of my favorite things to do. I am blessed that I get to do this. Not only get to do it, but I get to do it with some amazing people. And I love the people I've performed with in the past, and look forward to the friends and cohorts I will meet in the future doing this very thing.
Paul, we've asked you a lot of questions here on the Buffalo You Up podcast. Do you have any questions for either Ari or myself?
Ari, what are your thoughts on Brian? What's your favorite thing about Brian in general?
Do you mean our previous guest Brian Varney, or do you mean our Brian Dudeman, my co-host?
Brian Varney, first of all, is an amazing human being that all should respect and love, and
Support his GoFundMe.
Yes, definitely support his GoFundMe. That man is chock full of talent, and so yes, that Brian is amazing. I think we all agree on that one. But how about the person sitting just a couple feet to your left?
Dude, man, I really feel is like the brother I never had.
Oh.
Now, I have two brothers, but he's the brother that I never had.
Gotcha.
And just working together, it's like being with my family. Dude, mom is one of the best moms ever. And I truly love her like my own mom. And it's just, I come here and have fun with Dude Man, and this truly is it's not work. It's a joy. It's such a pleasure just to get to chat and be funny
I have a
on this
follow-up question.
podcast.
And I'm going to turn to Brian. What are your thoughts? I'm Brian, dude, man. You thought I was going to say Ari, and I flipped it around. We already know she's amazing, and she is. But what do you think about you, sir? Let me hear some good. Say something great about yourself. Genuinely great, because I want you to love yourself.
Yeah, so something I love about myself is my determination, my motivation. When the podcast shut down 3 years ago, I never once thought about throwing in the towel. I always thought in the back of my head, I'm going to come back one day. I'm going to come back one day. And here we are. So that's what I love about myself, is that I truly think that if I'm determined enough, I will not give up on a project. And I know you didn't ask this, but what I love about my co-host is that she is brilliant. She is creative. She's personable. She's respectful. And she's there, you know. She's someone that I love coming into every week and doing a podcast with.
He turned it back on her, but that's okay. You're both amazing. I hope you both realize that I adore you both.
All right, so one question that I have for my co-host right now, Ari Nicole. You up?
I think so.
All right, until next time, Buffalo, we just have one question for you. 1, 2, 3. You up?
My name is Paul Jacob Jingerleimer. No, Paul. I'm going to put my middle initial and the two initials of my two. I have 3 last names. So I'm doing Paul ABV. And then my McGinnis. And then the thing I originated with you is the little angry eyes for the eyes and the Paul McGinnis. So that's unique for, because I've got anger issues, and it's reflected in my signature. Okay. And it's a good, like, because Sarah Jean was colorful and got a happy heart, where I am dark and brooding and just full of rage. So I think that's a good And then we're next to Brian, who looks like that should be an album cover.